Hello, everyone. My name is Emily, and I want to talk to you about something really important today: why you must listen. When I was a little girl, I loved stories. I would sit for hours just listening to my grandma. She told stories full of love, magic, and life. I didn't realize it then, but those moments were shaping me. They were teaching me how to listen. Listening is not just hearing words. It's about understanding the feelings behind the words. When you really listen, you make people feel special, like they are being heard. And in return, you learn so much. There was a time when I wasn't very good at listening. I was always thinking of what I would say next or how to reply. But one day, my friend was talking about something really sad, and I missed it. I didn't realize how much pain she was in because I wasn't paying attention. That moment made me understand how important listening really is. Listening is like opening a door to someone's heart. It shows that you care. It makes you closer to people. When you listen, you can feel what the other person is feeling. You become kinder, more patient, and more understanding. One thing I learned is that you must listen with your heart, not just your ears. You must put down your phone, stop thinking about other things, and really focus on the person talking. Sometimes, silence can say more than words. Just being there and giving your full attention is enough. Listening also helps you learn. The best lessons in life come from listening to others. Every person has a story. Every story teaches us something new. When you listen, you grow. You become wiser and more connected to the world around you. Now, I want to give you some tips on how to listen better. First, when someone is talking, look at them. Eye contact shows you are interested. It tells the person that you are paying attention. Second, don't interrupt. Let the person finish what they want to say. Sometimes we are so eager to talk that we forget to listen. But when you interrupt, you miss out on the deeper meaning. Third, ask questions. When you don't understand something, ask. It shows you care about what the person is saying. Asking questions also helps you understand better. Lastly, practice listening. Just like anything else, listening takes practice. Try it every day. Listen to your friends, your family, even yourself. Pay attention to the sounds around you. The more you practice, the better you will become. Listening can heal. It can bring comfort to those who are hurting. It can build bridges between people who are different. It can solve problems. Listening is one of the most powerful things you can do. I remember once, a stranger told me a story on the bus. She was lonely and needed someone to listen. I didn't say much, but I listened with my whole heart. At the end of her story, she smiled and said, "Thank you for listening." I feel better now. That moment showed me how listening can be a gift. If you listen carefully, you will hear the beauty in every voice, the strength in every story, and the love in every word. Listening can change your life. It changed mine. So, I invite you to listen more. Listen with your heart. Listen to those you love, to those you don't know, and even to the quiet moments in between. The world has so much to say, and you will discover so many wonderful things if you just take the time to listen. Listening is a gift. It's something so simple, yet so powerful. You can give it to anyone, anytime, and it doesn't cost you a thing. But what you get back is priceless. Every person you meet has a story to tell. Every story is full of lessons, emotions, and wisdom. When you listen to others, you're giving them a space to be themselves, to share their hearts, and to feel heard. When I was younger, I always wanted to be the one talking. I thought that if I was the one with the loudest voice, I'd be the most important. But over time, I realized that the people who made me feel special were the ones who listened to me, not the ones who spoke the most. It's a strange thing, isn't it? The more you listen, the more connected you feel. You don't need to fill the silence with words. Sometimes just being there, open and attentive, is enough. I remember a time when my best friend was going through a really hard situation. She was scared, anxious, and unsure of what to do next. All I wanted was to fix her problems, to give advice, to make everything better. But instead, I just sat there and listened. I didn't have the answers and I didn't know what to say. But I stayed. I listened to her every word, her worries, her fears. I let her cry and vent. And after a while she looked at me and said, "Thank you. I just needed someone to listen." In that moment, I learned a powerful truth sometimes. Listening is the best way to show you care. You don't always need the right words or the perfect advice. You just need to be there, to listen, to let someone know they are not alone. That's the magic of listening. Listening also teaches you about yourself. Have you ever noticed how, when you listen to others, you start to understand your own thoughts and feelings better? It's as if the act of truly listening opens your mind in a new way. It's a mirror to your own soul. You begin to see the world through someone else's eyes, and in doing so, you learn more about who you are and what matters to you. One of the most beautiful things about listening is that it can break down barriers. We live in a world that is so divided sometimes. Different cultures, different opinions, different experiences, it can be hard to find common ground. But when you take the time to listen, really listen, something incredible happens. You start to understand. You start to see the other person's perspective. And suddenly, the differences don't seem so big anymore. Listening brings us together. It helps us find connection in the most unlikely places. I've met people from all walks of life. Some from faraway countries, some from different backgrounds, some who've had very different experiences than my own. And every time I listen to their stories, I learn something new. I see the world in a way I never would have if I had only been focused on my own thoughts, my own opinions. Listening is like opening a door to a new world. You never know what you'll find, but it's always worth it. Now, you might be wondering, how can I become a better listener? It's not always easy. Our minds like to wander. We get distracted. We start thinking about what we're going to say next. But becoming a good listener is a skill you can develop, and it starts with being present. When you're in a conversation, be fully there. Put away distractions. Put your phone on silent, close your laptop, and focus on the person in front of you. Give them your undivided attention. It might feel difficult at first, especially in today's busy world where we're always juggling a million things. But when you commit to being present, something amazing happens. The conversation deepens. You start to pick up on things you wouldn't have noticed before. The tone of their voice, the emotions behind their words, the little pauses and silences that speak louder than words. Another tip is to listen with curiosity. Instead of thinking about what you're going to say next, focus on truly understanding the other person. Ask questions. Be curious about their experience, their thoughts, their feelings. This shows that you're not just hearing their words, but you're truly engaged in the conversation. It creates a deeper connection. I also want to share something very personal with you. There was a time in my life when I felt lost. I didn't know what direction to take, and I felt like no one could understand what I was going through. I kept everything bottled up inside, thinking no one would care. But then one day, a close friend asked me how I was doing. Really asked. And when I started to talk, she didn't interrupt, she didn't judge, she didn't try to fix anything. She just listened. For the first time in a long time, I felt heard. I felt like someone truly understood me. That moment changed everything. It gave me the strength to move forward. That's the power of listening. It can change someone's life. It can give them hope. It can make them feel seen, heard, and valued. And it can do the same for you. Because when you listen, you also receive. You receive the gift of connection, of understanding, of love. I believe that if we all took just a little more time to listen, the world would be a much kinder place. We would be more patient, more compassionate, more empathetic. We would be less quick to judge and more open to understanding. We would solve problems not through arguing, but through conversation. We would build bridges, not walls. Listening is the key to stronger relationships, deeper friendships, and a more peaceful world. It's the key to unlocking the potential of every moment, every conversation. When you listen, you learn, you grow, you heal, you connect. So today, I encourage you to practice the art of listening. Listen to your family, your friends, your coworkers. Listen to strangers, to nature, to the silence around you. And most importantly, listen to yourself. Listen to your heart, to your intuition, to your inner voice. There is so much wisdom within you, waiting to be heard. Remember, listening is not just about hearing words. It's about being fully present, fully engaged, and fully open. It's about creating a space where people feel safe to share their stories, their thoughts, their feelings. It's about making the world a little bit brighter, a little bit kinder, one conversation at a time. Thank you for staying with me so far. There is so much more I want to say about listening, because it's truly something we can never fully stop learning about. Listening is like a garden. The more you nurture it, the more it grows. The more you practice it, the more beautiful your relationships and connections become. One of the most amazing things about listening is that it allows us to step outside of ourselves. Often, we live so much inside our own minds thinking about our problems, our plans, our worries that we forget the world is filled with other lives, other stories. Each person we meet has their own battles, their own dreams, their own heartaches and joys. And when we take the time to listen to them, really listen, we are reminded that the world is bigger than our individual experience. It's a humbling and beautiful realization. I want to tell you about another personal experience that taught me even more about the power of listening. It was during a difficult time in my family. My brother and I had grown distant. We argued often, and it felt like we didn't understand each other anymore. One day, after a particularly heated argument, I decided to do something different. Instead of defending myself, instead of telling him he was wrong, I chose to just listen. I asked him how he was feeling and then stayed quiet. I didn't interrupt. I didn't argue, I just let him speak. At first, it was hard. I wanted to jump in and defend myself, to explain why I felt the way I did. But I held back and kept listening. And slowly, something incredible happened. My brother started to open up in a way I had never seen before. He shared feelings I didn't know he had. He talked about things that had been bothering him for a long time, things he had never spoken about because he didn't think I was ready to listen. That conversation changed everything for us. It didn't fix everything overnight, but it opened a door. By simply listening, I showed him that I cared, that I was willing to understand, even if we didn't agree. From that moment on, our relationship began to heal, all because of listening. This taught me that sometimes the best way to solve a problem is not to talk, but to listen. When we listen, we give space for healing. We give space for understanding, for empathy. We let people feel seen and valued. It's a simple act, but it can have a profound impact. I want to remind you that listening isn't just something we do with our ears. We listen with our whole selves. We listen with our eyes when we make eye contact, showing the person that they have our full attention. We listen with our body language when we nod, smile, or lean in, signaling that we are engaged. We listen with our hearts when we try to feel what the other person is feeling, to understand not just their words, but their emotions too. One of the greatest gifts of listening is that it teaches us empathy. Empathy is the ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, to see the world through their eyes, to feel what they feel. And it all starts with listening. When we listen with empathy, we don't just hear the words, we feel the pain, the joy, the fear, the hope behind those words. We connect on a deeper level. And that connection is what brings us closer to each other. I also want to share a thought with you about listening to yourself. This is something we often forget to do. In our busy lives, we are constantly surrounded by noise, the noise of work, of social media, of other people's opinions. But how often do we take the time to listen to our own inner voice? How often do we sit in silence and ask ourselves, what do I really feel? What do I really want? What do I need right now? Listening to yourself is just as important as listening to others. It's about being in tune with your own emotions, your own needs. It's about giving yourself the same attention and care that you give to others. When you listen to yourself, you honor your own feelings. You respect your own boundaries. You learn to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you become stronger, more confident, more at peace. One way to practice listening to yourself is through quiet reflection. Take a few moments each day to sit in silence. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just listen. Listen to the thoughts that come up, the emotions that arise. Don't judge them. Don't try to push them away, just listen. Over time, you'll begin to hear your own voice more clearly. You'll begin to understand what your heart is telling you. And just as listening to others can heal relationships, listening to yourself can heal your soul. It can help you make better decisions, understand your true desires, and find peace within. It's a journey, and it takes practice, but it's one of the most important things you can do for yourself. I also want to talk about listening to the world around us. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own lives that we forget to listen to the beauty of the world. Have you ever just stopped to listen to the sound of the wind through the trees? Or the gentle hum of a busy street? Or the laughter of children playing? The world is full of sounds that remind us we are part of something bigger, something beautiful. Nature has its own language, and when we listen, it can bring us a sense of calm and wonder. The sound of rain, the rustling of leaves, the song of birds, these are all reminders that life is happening all around us, even when we're not paying attention. Listening to nature can ground us, can help us feel more connected to the earth, more present in the moment. Listening is also important when it comes to learning. Whether you're in school, at work, or just having a conversation, listening is how we absorb information. It's how we grow our knowledge, how we become wiser. The best leaders, the best teachers, the best friends are all great listeners. They know that by listening, they can learn from others. They can see things from different perspectives. They can grow. So, as we continue this journey together, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to listen more. To listen to your loved ones, to listen to strangers, to listen to yourself, and to listen to the world. Make listening a habit, a practice, a way of life. Because the more you listen, the more you will learn. The more you listen, the more you will connect. And the more you listen, the more you will grow. And when you truly embrace the power of listening, you'll find that the world becomes a more beautiful, more meaningful place. You'll discover that every person you meet has something to teach you, something to share. You'll realize that every moment, every conversation is an opportunity to learn, to connect, to love. So, let's listen. Let's listen with our ears, our hearts, and our souls. Let's listen to each other, to ourselves, and to the world around us. Because when we do, we open the door to a life full of deeper connections, greater understanding, and endless possibilities. Thank you, once again, for listening.